guys, welcome to the Fans Voice. Today, I'm going to talk about some of the uh, top 30 visits with AFC North teams. It's not all of them, just because it's a long list. But I'm going to start off with the Browns today. So they had visits with Monroe Freeling. Apparently, they spent a lot of some extended time with him. I'm not surprised. They need offensive line, especially left tackle, and he's one of the better tackles coming out of the draft. The only way I see them getting him is if they decide to grab him sixth overall. They also had a visit with Carnell Tate. That's another one that a lot of people, including myself, have been mocking to the Browns with the sixth pick. Makes a lot of sense. Their wide receiver room, not so good. Uh, Jerry Judy drops the ball a lot. I feel like he dropped it way too many times last year. And I feel like Gabriel and Shador would have done at least a little bit better if he had reliable receivers. Jerry Judy just dropping it too much, and then you got Isaiah Bond, who um, unproven and didn't spend a lot of time playing last year. So I don't have as much faith in them like the Browns do, or that they supposedly do, because we all know that they don't have faith in their team. That's why they get rid of players so easily and they cycle through players aside from a few. Next up is Caden Proctor. He's a good offensive lineman. The thing is as a left tackle, he gets beat on the inside a lot and he gets pushed around whenever they go to the inside. And I don't understand how it gets pushed around so much, considering he is 6.5 feet tall, 350 pounds. How do you get pushed around when you're that size? You're bigger than everybody else on the field. He's not a bad O lineman, but what I don't understand is why the Browns are also thinking about grabbing him at 6. I think they should wait until 24 to get him. And there's some other left tackle prospects that they can grab down in that position as well. So I don't think they should reach for him. It makes more sense if they were to grab Monroe Freeling at 6th. Granted, he'd probably be the first tackle off the board, but I like Freeling better than Proctor, even with Freeling only have 1 year starting experience. Speaking of another left tackle, they had Caleb Lomu visit them. That's another really good tackle. I prefer him over Caden Proctor, and they can get him. I think they'd have to trade up to get him. I think he's going to go before 24. I don't think he is worth the 6th overall pick. I think the only two tackles I say would be good enough to grab in the top 10 would be Francis Moigoa. Pretty sure that's how you say his last name. And Monroe Freeling. But Caleb Lomo, he's probably going to go in the top 16 picks. So they'd have to trade up to get him. I don't know if they it's the Browns. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to do something like that. So they also had a visit with Kenyon Sadiq. Browns really need wide receiver help, as I've already stated. Uh, they don't have a reliable wide receiver room, but if they wanted to get him, they'd have to get him at 6 or trade up to get him. I don't think that is necessarily the biggest need for them is going for the tight end. I think he's a really good athlete, and I think he's a really good receiving threat. But I don't think it's the best idea for them to go Kenyon Sadiq, just because there are other positions that I think they should go for. I mean, they got Harold Fannin, who's a really good receiving tight end, and that's what Kenyon Sadiq is. And I like Harold Fannin. I don't see a reason to bring in somebody of similar play style. Tight end is one where I want different kinds. I want somebody who could do it all. I want somebody who can block. I want somebody like preferably, I guess, do it all. But if you're going, Carol Fannon's more of a receiving tight end. I don't want to have 2, 3 receiving tight ends, and I don't want 2, 3 blocking tight ends. Like that's all they do. I want a variety in my tight end room. They also had a pre-draft visit with Casey Concepcion. They're going to get him. They're going to get him on 24th. He's going to be really good. I've stated it before. I think he's going to be a wide receiver one eventually. I think if he comes in, he'd be better than Jerry Jeudy off the bat. But with him still being a rookie, he's not going to get as much attention. And with them not having the best quarterback play, that's not sure how well that's going to bode well for him if he were to go there. Um, I'm I'm not surprised, but I'm also surprised at the same time that the Browns brought in quarterbacks. I'm not surprised because on the outside they're saying they got faith, but we all know on the inside they don't believe in their quarterbacks. That's why they went through a carousel just this season alone. But they brought in Drew Aller, Carson Beck, and Ty Simpson. Aller and Beck, they're going to be mid-round guys. I feel like if they were to get a quarterback this year, it would be around that around that spot in fourth, fifth round. It's probably about where Beck's going to go. I think Aller, he's early fourth, late third is I think is a good sweet spot for him. And then Ty Simpson, if they want to get him, they'd have to get him at 24 or maybe trade up depending on what's going to happen with if the Jets grab him or if the Cardinals decide to go for him. But I don't think it's a smart idea for them to grab a QB this year, especially with next year being a really good QB class. And I don't like their offensive lineman to bring in a young QB to start because if you grab Ty Simpson, you're going to want to start him. And they don't have the receiving room, and they do not have the O-line to support a rookie quarterback. They also brought in Chris Bell, Jeremy Bernard, and Denzel Boston. Denzel Boston be able to get in the first, but at 24 more than likely, as long as some other teams don't get him, like let's say like Pittsburgh, and Jeremy Bernard, he could be second round, and same thing with Chris Bell, but for us, second round guys. For the sixth pick, I'd say my top 5 for them to go for, starting at 5 for that, Sadiq, just because he's still electrifying, but I'm still not really sold on them grabbing him. But if they were to get him, I understand it because of the potential that he has. Next up is David Bailey. I don't think he's going to make it that far, but if he does, I don't. And I can see them going for him because, he'd be the best player available, and combining him and Miles Garrett would be a scary duo. And then Monroe Freeling at 3, Francis Moigoa at 2, and then where I think they should go and where I would go if I were them is Carnell Tate. I think that should be the first guy on their board that they want to get. Then for the 24th pick, 5, I'd say Concepcion. They need wide receivers, and I put them at the bottom for that one because I think they should go wide. They should go Carnell Tate with the 6th pick. But if it's reversed, Concepcion and Boston would be at the top of the list. And then I got Boston at 4. Right in the middle, I got Sadiq. If he were to make it that far, I would say grab him. That to me would be a worth it. Is if he's somehow still there at 24, you grab him. And then they can probably grab a decent offensive tackle with pick 39 if they go wide receiver at the first pick. And either way, I mean, if they were to get a wide receiver first pick and then get tight end, a good receiving tight end with their next pick that even better for the receiving room. And then there's still a good starting. I think there's still a good starting offensive tackle that they can get at 39. And then two, I got Caden Proctor. They really like him. They still need a left tackle. He might move over into guard. And offensive line is just a big need for them. He's still a high priority. And then one, I got Lomu. More than likely to have to trade up for him, but if he falls there, they should grab him. Next is the Bengals. They brought in Sonny Styles, and that makes a lot of sense. They need their focus is defense. A lot of the guys that they brought in for their top 30 visits, at least some of the more of the notable guys, I didn't write down every name, has been defense and offensive line. A lot of sense. Those are their weaknesses. So Sonny Styles, linebacker, it's a big need for them. And I think he'd come in there and he'd be a game changer for them right there in the middle of the field. I'm kind of surprised on it. They brought in Jeremiah Love. I don't think he's going to make it to 10. If he does, I'd still be surprised if they take him. Chase Brown is a quality starter running back in the league, and I don't see a reason to grab Jeremiah Love at that spot, especially when defense is your biggest need. Maybe it's just to scare teams and to thinking that they're looking to grab him. They had Ruben Bain visit. Uh, he's the one that is likely to fall, and I know they would be very tempted to grab him if he makes it to 10. They had Caden Proctor come in there. No, Caden Proctor, my God. Caden McDonald. I feel like if they want to grab him, they could trade back, bring in some draft capital. He's really good. Don't get me wrong, really, really good. But grabbing him at 10, I think it would be a little bit of a reach. They also brought in Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety. Was it Toledo? No, one of the smaller schools. They got up Ohio. He's really good, but they're not going to get him at 10. If they're going to get him, they'll get him in the second round. Josiah Trotter, Jake Galladay, day two. Yeah, those are day two picks, or late second, mid third. That makes sense to me. I don't see them getting Sonny Styles. I think there's a chance, but I don't see him making it that far. I don't see him making it past the Giants. But if he doesn't go there, it makes sense going for Trotter or Golday because those two are really good. I like them, and they're definitely they're definitely focused on it. Defense is their main focus from what it seems like in the first couple of rounds. A lot of these defensive players are early round guys, so they're definitely going defense with for at least their first three picks. And then they're the guys that they're looking at on the O line is Jude Browery, Austin Barber, and I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to try it. Fabeki Nwewu. He's a guard out of Oklahoma. Him I like out of those three guys. I like him better than the other two, but they're all projected right around the same or early mid fourth round. And I think the guard out of Oklahoma, I think he can come in. I think he could be a starter, and he's also versatile. I like him. And they also brought in a late round wide receiver to look at and running back. But my ranking, I only got the five guys I think the Bengals should be looking at with their 10th pick. I got Tremont McCoy at 5. He's only sitting there because the other guys ahead of him, I think, are just much better or much. I like them better for the Bengals than McCoy, even though if they were to grab him, then it would make total sense, and I would not judge them for grabbing him if he's the one of it, like if they decide to grab him. Uh, 4, I got Ruben Bain. The only reason I got him at 4 is because they did get an edge. They got an edge in first round. I'm not a fan of Shamar Stewart back from last year, but I might be. I think they're going to go edge. They they were looking at a couple of other edge prospects as well, so I do think they'll go edge. If they don't get first round, it's definitely going to be uh, third, fourth round edge that they're going to go for, maybe even second. Uh, but if he falls there, and the some of these other 3 guys aren't there, then I think they'll go for him. At number 3, I got Mansour Delane. He's probably the best corner coming out of the draft. Really good coverage guy, and they need corner. 2, I got Caleb Downs. I know they grabbed a safety, uh, Cooks, out of the free agency, but Caleb Downs is also very versatile. He can play your nickel and he can play safety. If he's there, they should get him. It's completely worth it at pick 10. Although the only player I would say they should take over him if he makes that far is Sonny Styles. I mean, if Arvo Reese were to make it, yeah, take him as well. But I don't think, again, that's a guy that I don't think is going to make it that far. But Sonny Styles is my number one target for them. He's just this. He's going to be a game record, really good linebacker. He's still developing, but still really good, and he's got all the physical tools for to be a really good linebacker in the league. Next up, I got the Ravens. Their top 30 visits don't make sense to me. They just because they need interior O line, that is their biggest need, and they haven't brought in any on their top 30 visits. And they brought in a couple wide receivers, and these wide receivers are available late first round. I don't know what they're trying to do right now, and they've got uh, let me go through it real quick. So they brought in Caden McDonald. They'd be able to trade back to get him. I don't see that. I don't see a reason to grab him with pick 14. I think he'll be available later on. I like Caden McDonald. I just don't see teams looking at they're looking at some of these other positions, and I think they're ranked high as a higher need than, let's say, a defensive tackle right now. Right this year, him and Woods, they're really, really good. They're the best ones coming out of the draft. But I think these other positions are ahead of them this year, just because these teams just they really need it. Um, and the teams that do need defensive tackle are generally on the back end of the draft. But I do think Caden McDonald will go in the 20s. They don't need to grab him at 14. So if they want to get him, trade back, or maybe even trade back up into it, because the Ravens got a lot of picks as well. They brought in Casey Concepcion. Again, they don't need to grab him at 14. They can wait a little bit for him, more than likely. They also brought in Max E. Haneker. I messed up that last name. He's offensive tackle. Arizona State. He is good, but they don't need tackle. They need interior O line. Brought in Caleb Banks, Zion Young. That one surprising. That's early. That is a more than likely a late first round guy. So I don't think it makes sense grabbing him. I think they will go edge just later. Jay Halsey, safety. I find that really weird as well. They got two good. They got Kyle Hamilton. He's like a Kyle Hamilton, the versatile cover, knock your socks off kind of safety. And then they also got, is it Starks? Pretty sure they got Starks, Malachi Starks. Can't remember. They got a safety last year. I was surprised that made it that far. I thought it was a really good pick for them. I can't remember his name right now. They brought in Danny Dennis Sutton out of Penn State. He's an edge. Uh, that makes sense to me. I think that he can be really good in the league, and that he also is going to be late third, early fourth, which fits where I think that they're going to grab an edge. And I think he can be a good quality rotational piece or eventual starter in the league. They brought in Taylor Green, not surprised. Similar kind of quarterback to uh, Lamar Jackson. They just need some developing. Probably a fifth round guy, but I think it would be a good fit for them. And they also got Travis Burke. I think he's a good late round offensive tackle. And then they got uh, Traber Pena. He's a wide receiver out of Penn State. I, for what this team needs, they haven't brought in guys. I think it could be like one of two options. Um, they could just be putting up a smoke screen, making people think, oh, they're not going to go for him, so we don't need to go for him early. And maybe some people will fall to him, or people might not trade up ahead of him if they don't think that they're going to get him. And it could also just be because they already know that they want to get him and they understand the kind of player that they are, and they just don't feel the need to have the extra visit because they really like that person. So that's why maybe they didn't bring in Ione or Fano or Hecht at the center out of Kansas State. That is the only thing I could think of why they didn't bring him in. Outside of that, it still doesn't make any sense. I'm not a fan of what they've been doing in the off season. I mean, grabbing Trey Hendrickson makes sense in the sense that at least he'll be cheaper than Max Crosby, and they can keep their first round picks. But for my top five in the first round, I didn't include all the people in their 30 visits, just like I did with like the Bengals. I think the fifth option is McDonald. Trade back, get some picks for him, and then maybe even then trade back up somewhere in the second, in the early second to get somebody. And it's the same, and it's the same. Don't mind that one. It's a little goofball. Concepcion, they'd be able to wait to get him more than likely. So if they really want him, I mean, if they really want him, they will spend pick 14 on him. Won't be won't be the worst thing, but I think they should go O line ahead of him, um, or even the next guy, Sadiq. I think them grabbing Sadiq makes a lot of sense because they do need receiving help, and he is a really good tight end, and he fills the need of that receiving threat for Lamar Jackson and also the replacement for Mark Andrews because he is on the plus side of 30. At number two, I got Spencer Fano. He's a right tackle, I think, but he is open to moving positions going to the NFL. I like that mindset. That just means he's going to be flexible and he's not going to be stubborn like some other players in the league. And I think somebody that comes to mind, Travis Hunter, I'm going to be a wide receiver in the corner. I think he realized that maybe I can't do that in the NFL. On top of the Jaguars, probably like, hey man, you know, we want you to stick to one position. But for now, he's open to it, and apparently he did take some snaps at center in the combine. So I like it. I like him for them, and I want to put it past them to grab him. Top option for them is Oleva Vega, Oleva Vega Ione. He's the best interior O lineman coming out of this draft, and that is their biggest position of need. Last and not least is my Pittsburgh Steelers. So for their 30 visits, I went and I grabbed some more players, uh, picked out more players for them. They also had them out of all four AFC North teams. Them and the Browns have brought in the most players. Pittsburgh, they brought in four quarterbacks for 30 visits. And I was telling me that, oh, see, they're going to go quarterback in the first round. No, no, they are not. Um, I really don't see it. Uh, doesn't make sense for them to do that this year with it being a not so good draft class for QBs. So they brought in Carson Beck, Cole Payton, Taylor Green, and Drew Aller. Drew Aller could go day two, early third round. Um, but these other guys, they're easily day three picks. Now, Taylor Green's probably my least favorite out of those ones, and Cole Payton would be my favorite out of the four. He's only got 1 year starting, but he did really good in that 1 year. He had like 70% completion. Um, he can run the ball. He's got a big arm. I like him. He did really good in his 1 year starting, and he'd be a good developmental piece. Could just be just he comes in. I think he's just going to be a backup in Pittsburgh, no matter who they got at quarterback. If Rogers there, he's going to be the third quarterback or practice squad. If they decide if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign again and they roll with Will Howard as their QB, which I think that is the most likely. Um, so, but this is how I see it going down. If Aaron Rodgers signs, they're going to have Will Howard as QB2, Rodgers at QB1, as you would expect, and then they're probably going to trade or cut Mason Rudolph because why keep him there outside of QB3? I think I think they will go a later round QB this year, and no need to have four quarterbacks. No need to do what the Browns did last year. If Aaron Rodgers does not sign, they're going to roll with Will Howard as QB1. They'll have Mason Rudolph at QB2 for that veteran quarterback presence. And then they'll have like Cole Payton, Drew Aller, Carson Beck, somebody like that as their QB3. And then the followings, and they're going to just be in um, there'll be a quick QB competition. And then, more likely it's going to be Will Howard as a starter. And then the next season, depending on how it goes, competition just between uh, QB they draft and Will Howard. And if it doesn't go well, then they're probably going to go QB next year in the first round. Next up, who they brought in a couple wide receivers. Denzel Boston, he's a good fit for Pittsburgh. I like him. A similar build to the receivers that they got. Some of y'all are like, oh, we don't want that. He's like just another version of Michael Pittman. And I'm just like, who cares if you have three big body wide receivers that catch the ball very well? Have them, and you don't need to have these small, speedy guys. Oh, they all got good route running, and then we already have a speed guy. And I think some of y'all forgot about how fast Metcalf is. He is the speed guy. He is your deep ball guy. It's fine. We don't need to get these smaller guys. But next up, they also brought in Jeremy Bernard. They'll be able to get him probably with the 53rd pick. He's really good. He's a really good blocking wide receiver, and he's got good route running. He's got good hands. I like him. He'd be able to come in and uh, be a good slot guy for Pittsburgh. I also brought in Makai Lemon. They'd be able to get him at 21, maybe. I feel like if they get him, they'd have to trade up for him. I don't see them really wanting to trade up for him, though, just because I think if more than likely, Denzel Boston's going to be available, and I think he's a good fit for Pittsburgh. They brought in tight end Will uh, Case Merrick, Toss Merrick, Ass Marek. Yeah, I messed that up. Tight end out of Ohio State. Not surprising. They don't have Connor Hayward anymore, so they need to fill in that tight end 3 spot. I like him. He's a really good blocking tight end. He's like 6'6", 260 pounds. I think he's going to fit in well with Pittsburgh. He's going to be that good blocking tight end for when Pittsburgh is bringing in the big boys. All right. They are looking at early offensive linemen. They brought in Spencer Fano. He can be a backup tackle. He can move in to be your left guard. Fano makes a lot of sense for me because they do need the offensive lineman. They brought in Keelan Rutledge. Pittsburgh probably be able to get him second, third round. I'd like pick 53 or 76. Uh, so I think if Pittsburgh goes wide receiver first round, they're more than likely going to grab Keelan Rutledge. But I really think I think O line is going to be there. Be a, it's really hard to say because like they are looking at early wide receivers, and they're looking at early O linemen because they also brought in Oleva Vega Ione. It's I say for Pittsburgh, it's either going to be Ione, Fano, or Boston at pick 21. I can also really see Pittsburgh trading up into the back up into the first round. But back to the players they brought in, they got Bo Stevens, a guard out of Iowa. He's going to be like fourth, fifth round. Look at him in case they don't get some of these other guys. I think they're doing really good job at the due diligence. I like what Pittsburgh is doing with their top 30 visits. They also brought in Darrell Jackson. They'll be able to get him third round, 76 or 85. He's a really good run stopping defensive tackle, and that's something that they needed to work on and bring in some more bodies for that. For the linebackers, they've got Kyle Lewis. He was a local visit, but I do really like him. He's not the biggest, but he's really good, and he's kind of like a hybrid big nickel dime backer kind of guy. And then that's the same thing with Harold Perkins. They brought him in out of LSU, and those two are kind of similar. I could see Harold Perkins being transitioned over to safety because of his size, and he just needs to work on some of his man coverage to really be more of a hybrid guy. But I like him as a safety. He'd be a really big safety. And they also brought in Jacob Rodriguez. They probably have to trade up to get him because I don't see them being able to sit and wait for him at pick 53. He is going to go early. I think he is a really good linebacker coming out of this draft. He creates turnovers. He's a good coverage guy. He's a good tackler. He's a really good linebacker, and he can command your defense very well. He is one of my favorite linebackers. Coming out of this draft, out of the off-ball linebackers, pure off-ball linebackers. I put him at 2 behind Sonny Styles. They brought in Chris Johnson, Blake Muhammad, a couple other corners as well. But if they get these guys, Chris Johnson, they'll be able to get at 53. Might have to trade up for him because I've seen some people mock him late first round, in early second. Malik Muhammad, he's going to be third, fourth round guy. They all fit Pittsburgh mold for a cornerback, tall, decent size, physical corners. They also brought in Traden Stoops and Emmanuel McNeil, their safeties. I don't see them grabbing McNeil Warren in the first round if they want to get him. They're going to have to get him in the second round, maybe even trade up to get him. And then Traden Stoops. I think they'd be able to get him at pick 53. I don't think they'd have to trade off for him. So my top 5 guys for Pittsburgh to look at with their first pick would be Makai Lemon at 5. I think he's really, really good. I just think you'd have to trade up for him to get him. and I don't think he's I personally don't think he's worth trading up for. Yeah, he's got some skill and whatnot, but I don't see him. He's not like Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate, I would trade up. Or Chris Bell. He's somebody I would trade up for as well, especially if you're still first round. If he didn't get injured and you're still going to go first round, I would trade up for him. Like High Lemon, he's got skill. Um, but I see personality problems. I see a diva waiting to be born with him. So I'll pass on him. But if he were to fall to 21, it's worth taking a shot on the potential that he has. Number four, I got Jacob Rodriguez. That would be a little bit of a reach, but really, really good. I like him. And that's going to be one of the few ways Pittsburgh grabbing him is if they were to grab him at pick 21. I got Denzel Boston. I think out of some of the wide receivers that could be available at that spot, I think he is a better fit for Pittsburgh than Makai Lemon or maybe some other people that might possibly be there. I even like Boston for Pittsburgh over like Jordan Tyson because Tyson has injury history and his toughness is questionable. So it's the only thing that's holding me back from Tyson. Number two, I got Spencer Fano. He's at that spot mostly because we need interior O line. Yeah, like I said, he can transition over to be offensive guard, but I would rather get a pure guard to do that. And I think they're in position to get one. But Fano, really good. If they get him, I will not complain. Um, for my top option for them is Oleva Vega Ione. Uh, they need offensive guard. I've been preaching that for like this entire time, ever since free agency started opening up. He's been my guy for Pittsburgh to grab. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you like for these teams to grab with their first round picks? And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk with you guys later.